On September 11th of this year, we mark the 13th anniversary of the horrific attacks made by terrorists. Almost 3,000 people died, according to the CDC. A day we won't forget. A day that our lives were turned upside down. A day that we united even stronger. Where were you on 9/11/2001? I was sitting in my 7th grade English class, not even aware of what was happening that morning. I found out at lunch, and my heart sank to the pit of my stomach. All those poor people. I watched numerous reports and read many, many stories on just what happened that day. If not for the men and women of 9/11, we would lost many more lives that day. Today we're going to begin with the heroes of the World Trade Centers, then move to the heroes of the Pentagon, and finally we'll wrap up with the heroes of Flight 93. Let's start with the heroes from the World Trade Centers. The day started like any other day until our planes, Flight 11 and 175, were taken over by terrorists and used like missiles to drive into the Twin Towers, making them flame up like torches and fall into shards of metal and concrete and clouds of toxic dust. 50,000 people worked in the World Trade Centers, according to the NYSED. According to the CDC, 2,700 people died from these attacks. So many more could have lost their lives if it had not been for the quick actions of the citizens, emergency personnel, and the American maritime community. The Tin House firefighters were the first on the scene since their station was located on Ground Zero. Survivors stated that the sky was black and bodies raining down on the street. Their ladder truck was found under 40 feet of rubble, according to the 9/11 Chronicles. Many other firefighters rushed in to help. Police officers helped escort people out of harm's way, blocking off streets and helping search the rubble afterward. Many firefighters and police officers lost their lives that day. According to an article by Rebecca Solnit, the American maritime community sprang into action. Thousands of people fled to the water's edge in hopes to flee the debris clouds. Every able vessel was used to carry over 300,000 people from the lower Manhattan in 9 hours. This was a larger sea lift than one after the Battle of Dunkirk, in which it took 9 days for the same amount of people. Many others walked across the Brooklyn Bridge. After seeing the heroes of the World Trade Center, let's look at the heroes from the Pentagon. According to the article, The September 11th Attack on the Pentagon by Brian Roberts, within 30 minutes of the planes hitting the World Trade Centers, Flight 77 was hijacked and crashed into the west side of the Pentagon. 193 died. Many say that they could hear the roar of the engine before it hit. Many military personnel and firefighters fought fire, water, and toxic fumes, an unstable rebel to save people. Running to the building, many people helping each other. They also smashed windows and even ran across the burning plane to get out. Some of the heroes were General Claude Van, Lieutenant Ted Anderson, Staff Sergeant Chris Berman, General Glenn Webster, and Specialist View Dubinsky, just to name a few. Every one of these men listed were back into the building multiple times. Their motto is, "You don't leave your comrades on the battlefield." According to the article, Heroes Saved Lives in the Pentagon in 2000, September 11th. Berman was given the Purple Heart and the Soldier's Medal. This picture on the left This picture on the left shows the damages to the Pentagon and what they were. The second picture shows where the plane had hit. Now, after hearing about the Pentagon, let's finish with the heroes of Flight 93. It's not entirely sure where the plane was to crash, thanks to a small crowd on the flight. There were 40 aboard. Many called family and officials to let them know that the plane had been hijacked. After hearing about the other events, the passengers fought back. The leaders were Thomas Burnett Jr., Todd Burmer, and Sandy Bradshaw, according to the article Flight 93. The cockpit recorder, or the black box, recorded the counterattack, and then the plane was brought down in the field of Pennsylvania shortly after. Now let me end by saying it was through the heroes of the World Trade Center that many lived. It was through the Pentagon heroes that many were saved. It was through Flight 93 heroes that fought back that another target wasn't hit. The heroes of 9/11 were selfless. Even through the midst of such terrible and horrific events, you and I get to decide how we will remember that day. Will we remember it in sorrow of the past, or will we remember the bravery of the people in this great time of need? This is a day that I will never forget. Don't let those that died that day be forgotten.